Five Nights at Freddy's is a survival horror game with point-and-click elements that took virtually the entire gaming community, let alone the world, in 2014, with its unique game design, iconic characters, and franchise-spawning scares. The player works as a security guard for the fictional Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the restaurant in which the game takes place, and has to complete the 6-hour night shift lasting from 12 to 6 AM without getting stuffed in an animatronic suit by at least one of the 4 active animatronics that roam the restaurant at night. The player plays alone in an office and has the task of watching the restaurant where they can predict where the antagonists will move to in the subsequent moments. However, the cameras don't see every area in the facility, such as the 2 hallways to the left and right of the player which need the player to turn on the lights indicated by white buttons next to the doors to see Bunny the Bunny and Chica the Chicken on the left and right respectively. The player can't leave the office until the shift is complete and can only shut the doors in self-defense, with each use of something electronic consuming the player's limited electrical power indicated by a percentage going down from 100. If the player's power runs out before 6 AM, Freddy Fazbear will flash lights in his eyes, playing a music box rendition of Toreador Mart. And subsequently jump scare the player. Even if the power doesn't go down, there's still the risk of getting killed by each animatronic, as Freddy, Bunny, and Chica still creep up to the 2 doors, and Foxy the Pirate Fox charges the left door, having the player watch when he decides to do it. And if killed, the player has to start from the beginning of that night again. There are 5 nights in each game with increasing difficulty, with completion of the game unlocking a 6th night, which subsequently opens up a 7th night, which is customizable. The game was developed by Scott Cawthon after receiving negative reviews for his previous game, Chipper & Sons Lumber Company. Reviewers remarked how the game's characters were unsettling and animatronic-like in appearance. Cawthon eventually used it to inspire himself to make a game that was deliberately scarier, developing the game in 6 months using the Click Team Fusion 2 engine and Autodesk's 3ds Max to model the 3D graphics. First released for the PC on August 8th of 2014, the game was well received, with review aggregator website Metacritic assigning the PC version a score of 78 out of 100. Indie Game Magazine praised the game for its simple take on the horror genre, labeling the game a quote, fantastic example of how cleverness in design and subtlety can be used to make an experience terrifying, unquote. They noted that its artistic direction and gameplay mechanics contributed to a feeling of brutal tension, but criticized it for taking too long to load when launched. Omri Petit for PC Gamer gave Five Nights at Freddy's a score of 80 out of 100, commenting that the game took a less is more approach to its design, and praising the overall atmosphere for emphasizing the fear and suspense of an approaching threat, rather than the arrival of the threat itself, as in other horror-oriented games. The game gained immediate popularity and a cult following, largely due to its inclusion in several popular Let's Play videos that were uploaded to YouTube. This success led to the development of the Five Nights at Freddy's video game series media franchise, beginning with the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 in November of 2014. Other than video games, the franchise has expanded to include several written works. The first of these, Five Nights at Freddy's The Silver Eyes, was published in 2015. I think its recognition as something new and innovative in the gaming space was well deserved, even though it was such a simply designed game, knowing the bulk of it was just interaction with buttons and keen observation. I think that by the time 2014 had rolled around, the gaming community, especially the horror space for that matter, had gotten tired of the indie scene putting out the tropes that made the same first-person style horror game, where the player had to survive some supernatural entity chasing after them. Five Nights at Freddy's was a game where you couldn't run, but you could see what was trying to kill you before it was too late. It already had you feel defenseless by having one thing blocking you from certain death at the hands of 4 bloodthirsty failed Chuck and Cheese pitches, putting the pressure of trying to determine whether you're going to run out of power, checking on them before 6 AM, rendering you as nothing but an endoskeleton to them. Security cameras only made the experience scarier since they didn't cover the entirety of the restaurant, had a maximum problem resolution of 1 by 1p, were dimmer than the restaurant that they surveyed, had no color, and could have a jump scare on the other end of it if you put them down at any given moment. What didn't help the slideshows you had to look at were the nightmares characters going after you with increasing ferocity as you get further into the week. Each one had their unique behavior patterns that identified themselves and have been terrorizing players for the past 7 years. All of this and more led to the genesis of a franchise started from such simple design.